And let's see what happens. Okay. You all ready? All right, this should be fun. Okay.
There we go.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Nice.
It's my head instead.
We need to figure out how to map that onto your head as a mask. Like a kitty emoji or whatever they call those things. Anyways, we'll have to edit that stuff out. Because we're live now for the first episode.
Live?
Yes!
What?
Our first episode, trial run, all that good stuff. Welcome.
Episode like 1.5.
Yeah.
Still the first episode.
Still the first episode, but take two. Because
Yeah.
we couldn't figure out OBS and we had some failures. But we're not going to talk about that. Because we're going to talk about Star Wars. Because it's really an exciting week for Star Wars fans.
Yeah. Yeah, if you like Fantasy Flight, you like Star Wars, they had some stuff for you.
You are a happy camper this week. Because first of all, they have an article about that rebel with the cause, Jyn Erso, for Star Wars Legion. Yeah, she's going to be a fun commander to use. She's a commander, not an operative, which is pretty cool.
It's good for her.
Yeah, and yeah, she has the best keyword so far in the game, I think, which at least for rebels, which is infiltrate.
Infiltrate was good.
Yeah, I think that makes rebels feel more like rebels and less like a stand-up army fighting a stand-up army, because this isn't like, I don't know, this isn't like the British and French in 1700s line them up and shoot them kind of warfare. So
no, we're hiding.
Yeah, so rebels are now hidey and sneaky and deploy anywhere within reason.
Yeah.
Although it was pointed out to me that infiltrate, so you put a unit down as the Empire, or as the opponent, and I put Jyn Erso down, let's say, in your deployment area or even outside of your deployment area, and then you don't have that that restriction. So
no, you can deploy within next to Earth. You can. So
then you put down your scouts and then you do your scout 2 move, and then bam, we're beating her up with the rifle in the first turn. So
speaking of rifle,
yeah,
she only has a stick on her card.
She only has a stick on her card, which is interesting because I swear in the movie she used a gun. What's up with that?
Well, she's got that little gun upgrade icon on the left of her stuff.
Let's flip to the page. There we go. There's the pistol, and so it's 2 reds and a white. It's range 1 to 2, pierce 1, and it's 0 points, which is pretty cool.
Why not?
Because why not?
I like that they're both 0 points, like both because it's got a pistol config and
and the rifle config. Yeah. And so it's got the reconfigure keyword. The rifle is range 1 to 3, 2 black dice and a white die, also pierce 1. But then it's got this keyword called reconfigure, and it says when you do a recover action, you may flip the card. So that's pretty cool.
Between 2 black and a white at range 3 to 2 red and a white at range 2.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Good card. Yeah.
So she's got a couple, and she's she's not an operative. She's a commander. So she's got, of course, her commander cards. Her 1 pip card, Rebellious, is pretty neat. She gains charge, and then once per round, when an enemy at range 1 to 2 and in line of sight of Jyn Erso activates before it performs its rally step, which is at the beginning of its turn, Jyn may gain 1 suppression token and either perform an attack against that unit or a free action. And there was a little bit of discussion why is it labeled once per round when these cards are only good for the 1 round they're used in, and it's because, like, well, what if I want to move to corner her and I move 3 units in? Yeah. So you move 3 units in. She can only do it to 1 unit, but I think that's still pretty good. Yeah.
Although I think it's interesting that it's at range 1 to 2 and her rifles 1 3, so you could still have people it doesn't matter if you have it in rifle or pistol configuration, you're going to get to shoot at them if you want to shoot at them.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so Jyn's pretty cool. I think I can't wait. So I have my Legion table at home is Scarif themed, and I'll have to put that on the show here and show it off.
She'll have to die on that table.
Oh no, you don't. Orson Krennic will be doing the dying.
They'll both die, and yeah, I'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fun because that's what Legion's about. It's about playing your own Star Wars movie out in a big battle. Yeah, and then the next article, I guess I'll go next again.
Yeah.
Because
it's more scum.
Yeah, more scum and villainy, scum and smugglers. I don't know what you want to call it, but Sabine Wren and Bossk. I think Sabine is extremely cool. She is an operative, which is nice that they're using that operative keyword. So
good mirror to Boba Fett.
Yeah, good mirror to Boba Fett. She's got that impervious Mandalorian armor, so if you have Pierce, she gets to roll extra defense dice to try and negate the Pierce. She has a couple... Well, we know she has the charges, and then she has a couple of tokens. She has a token that's got her kind of like artsy paint scheme on it, and then we got this... I believe that's an immobilized token, and then we got this token that looks kind of like a radar screen or something like that.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see what they're for.
It looks like one of her upgrade cards is colored similarly to that token, so I'm wondering what's on that card.
Yeah. And so her box art has her with the Mandalorian helmet and the Darksaber. And the figure in the preview there also has the same thing. But lo and behold, you scroll down, and no helmet, and a second pistol.
Yeah.
So... Welcome to the miniatures game, Fantasy Flight. Now we have a customizable Sabine Wren, and I was thinking about this when I thought it was just her arm, and I was like, well, if it's just her arm, that's fine. I could probably stick a 1mm magnet in there or something.
That's her helmet too.
But her helmet too. Her helmet, and you get her face and or her helmet, or well, I guess not and or because her helmet would cover her face.
Oh.
Yeah.
And isn't Jan the same way?
Jyn? I don't think so.
She's got the one pose? She's only got the one pose. Bossk
She's only got the one pose.
The second
yes,
pose.
Bossk, and I was just going to lead you in. Go ahead and tell us about Bossk.
So Bossk looks like fun. He's also got a bunch of these yellow tokens that look... They're the immobilization shape, but those are definitely not immobilization tokens.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what they do. He's got a red token on the right of the preview. I don't know what that does either.
That's that saboteur.
Saboteur.
Yeah, the
he's
what do you call it?
Bombs and
the charge. Yeah.
I'd love to see Bossk grab onto the side of a snow speeder as it goes by to do that. But Bossk has regenerate. And he regenerates 3, and I think you take 3 white dice, and if you roll hits or surges on the 3 white defense dice, he gets up to 3 hit points back. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's like, well, I mean, not unfortunately, but to balance it out, it's maximum 3, depending on how many wounds you have.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of chiding about the fact that he was a 7-wound white defense die guy, but at the same time, with regenerate 3, and it goes off after every one of his activations, right? So
I believe so.
If you have guardians around him or something to make sure he doesn't get killed, he could be very survivable. He looks very good in the area denial kind of arena. Yeah.
And he's got 2 poses, one where he's got a grenade out,
yes.
The other where he's holding onto his mortar launcher.
And I've been trying to study this image to see if he's got 2 heads, and I don't think he does.
I don't think he does. I think it's just the one.
I think it's the one head looking over his, kind of partway over his shoulder to kind of his half left there. And yeah, I can't wait for these guys to come out.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I can't. It'll be fun. More operatives can only make the game better, especially since they came out with the specialist boxes with those 50-point officers. So now you don't have to have like big Darth Vader commanders. Now you can have like guys who are just chumps who are there to give orders, and then you can have these guys who are just monster, just murder machines to do this stuff. So, and Josh, you're happy because moving on to Armada, we got some Armada news.
Yeah, we got sector fleets in Armada. Basically, take your normal Armada game, add at least one more person on each side, and crank the game's maximum points for each side, potentially up to like 1,200 points. Depending, it gets up to 8 people. With an 8-person game, you only get a 300-point fleet for each person. But just imagine I'm assuming a more fair version of the all-in at the end of your Carillion campaign.
Yeah, and I think they mentioned that in the article about how they were kind of informed by the players from the Carillion campaign and wanted to make it a bit more balanced.
Yeah, I've never been in an all-in that was even. No one wants to go all-in when you could possibly lose. So it'll be interesting to see how these games go with 2 or 3 or 4 people on each side.
Yeah, so
I'm excited.
It was a great idea.
Interdictors as far as the eye can see.
Superstar Destroyer and like 5 interdictors. It's going to be awesome.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, so they mentioned the Carillion conflict, but yeah, you're right. I mean, so the all-in is at the end, and it's either a very desperate move by the losing team to win, or it's a move by the winning team to say, okay, we don't think we need it anymore.
I'd like to end the campaign now.
Yeah, we'd like to end the campaign now because we're going to smash you. And the latter is the more common in our experience. So, yeah, pretty cool. Pretty interesting. I'm glad Armada's getting some love. It makes me excited to get the SSD, and it makes me excited to get back into the game because now the SSD was like, 190 points naked or something like that?
Depending on which SSD you're taking, it gets a lot more, but yeah.
Fair, but yeah, and if you want to load that thing at all, you're talking about 2 or 3/4 of your fleet points. But now you and I can get on a 4x8 table or a 4x6 table or whatever, because I think we didn't mention this yet, but it also includes how to set up the table for bigger table sizes than just
potentially an expanded deployment depending on how many people and how many points you've got.
Right, exactly. So. Yeah, it'll be fun to get 1,800 points out there because then you'll have the SSD, and then you'll have a couple of ISDs and maybe a couple of interdictors, and boy, how many hammerheads would you say you can fit in 1,800 points, Josh?
I hurt on the inside now.
Okay.
I mean, how many hammerheads could I blow up?
That's right. How many hammerheads do I... What's my first catch of the day?
Yeah. No, you don't say that. Bad things happen when you say
right.
that. You get hit with an ion cannon and fall. Like a chump because you didn't have your shields up.
Because you didn't have your shields up, because you thought you were all that, and you're not.
They're not coming this way. I'll be fine.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh boy. Anything else Star Wars we should talk about?
I think they had an X-Wing update, but
they did have an X-Wing update. We'll have to get Ward on to talk about X-Wing, but he's playing X-Wing tonight, so
yeah.
But I know
I'm missing our potential. They might be doing 2-on-2 or a 3-on-3. So I'm not going to make that.
Bummer.
It happens.
Yeah. Oh well, adulting is tough, but. Yeah, moving on, Kickstarter favorites, which is another thing we're probably going to talk about in this show a bunch, because we kickstart an obscene amount of board games.
Too many.
Too many. Let's go with too many.
I call it obscene, but it's definitely
I
too high.
Someone I live with who would call it obscene, that's for sure. But
I'm still waiting on a bunch of them.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. Armies and Legions I'm supposed to get any day now, I think. And that's a book about painting that I can't wait to read, because the guy, I forget the guy's name, but he's a really experienced painter. He's painted over like 20,000 miniatures or something in his career, and he's got a bunch of tips, and not the standard tips, not like here's how you do this. It's more like here's how to stay motivated, so when you're painting your 6th squadron of stormtroopers, you don't go throw yourself down the stairs or something.
What the heck am I doing with my life?
I know, right?
Fun.
Oh man.
Okay.
So
you'll have to let me borrow that. I've got Reaper Bones coming in.
Oh yeah, you're gonna need it.
Push back to March, so I'm gonna have in addition to Legion, a giant pile of
Reaper miniatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. So I did want to bring this one up because this is one I just backed. This is the latest one I backed. It's Tsuro Phoenix Rising. And if you played Tsuro before, you know Tsuro is kind of that a path-making game where you put tiles down to make paths.
Try not to bump into people.
Try not to bump people or fly off the side. In classic Tsuro, you lose if you do that. So this is a really interesting concept because it kind of takes that idea to the next level, because now you're not just, and I say just like it's easy, but now you're not just trying to avoid the edge. Now you're trying to actually go around the board and collect things and not bump into people or fly off the edge. So it's a pretty interesting concept. I actually got to play this at a game night of someone who I don't have permission to name, who has these kinds of people over. I got invited to a game night. I was very fortunate to meet Ray Lears. He taught us the game. We got to play with his pre-production copy of the game, and even the pre-production copy's gorgeous. I couldn't believe it was a pre-production copy just looking at it, you know. And it's a gorgeous artwork, gorgeous style, really solid components just in the pre-production copy. I back this. If you're a fan of Tsuro, or if you've never played Tsuro and you think you might like the whole thing, you can actually pledge to get all the games. I just pledged the $55 Kickstarter exclusive set for the one game because I already have Tsuro and Tsuro of the Seas in my library. But there's $100 where you can get all three games if you like. There's also some retail options. But what's really cool about this game is you are a phoenix, and the story of the game is the gods got angry and took all the stars out of the sky. And so what happens is these tribes on Earth are lighting candles to send them up. And you play as these gracious phoenixes who are helping the people of the earth below turn these lanterns that fly up to the sky into stars. So, playing a phoenix, the object of the game is to make 7-star constellation. The first one to do that wins. And you do that by navigating yourself around the board. Now the 4x4 in the center of the tile here are already set up, so you don't have to place those tiles. The only tiles you place are on the edge to get yourself into the board. And what you have to do is you have to enter and leave a tile with a lantern in order to turn that to a star and gain the star, i.e. victory point. And then the lantern moves to the next a space of your choice that is not where it previously was, that has the same color lantern on it. So what's really innovative about this thing is instead of drawing a tile and putting it down and following the path, the inner grid is already there. So what do? Well, you get to a stop, and if you can't go, you take a tile and you rotate it, or you flip it and rotate it to try and make your path continue.
Okay.
Which is really kind of neat, because you could have no options except to fly yourself off the board. You could have no options except to run into another person, in which case you kill yourself and them. And if everybody dies, it's whoever has the most stars. You do get one extra life. So if you accidentally die the first time, you can get back on the board. You can't get back on the board more than the once, though. And as you enter the board, as people enter the board, these outer squares start filling up with tiles. And if you're playing in an 8-player game, there's a possibility, well, a 6, 7, or 8-player game, there is a possibility that all these tiles will be filled in, and guess what? You will not be able to re-enter the game, which means even though you have a life token to get a life back, sorry, you're out of the game. Your score is your score, and you got to hope everyone else bites the dust with less score than you at the end of the game. What's really great is this tray. And they have a prototype mock-up of this tray. It's got these kind of inverted bubble kind of things what the tile sits on. And what's really great about it is instead of trying to fish onto the board and disturb everything, grabbing at tiles that never want to seem to come up from the table, because of this inverted bubble system where the tiles sit on, basically all you gotta do is hit the edge and it pops right up and you can grab it without disturbing anything else on the board. So it's a really quite innovative solution to hey, how are we going to do this without disturbing everything on the board? But it is already funded, so there's no risk of funding. A lot of backers, less than 48 hours to go. Oh, we got some more action going on there. So looks like, yeah, it's a good game. Plays 2 to 8. I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. It's one of those games that you can pull out, and it is complex, if this makes sense. It should make sense. Complex strategically without being complex component-wise, right? So, you look at these, I mean, we're just talking about Legion. I mean, how many freaking complexities are there to that game with all the different punch cardboards and, rules and keywords and stuff like that? And that's fun too, but if you're looking for something a little lighter, i.e. people who play more like a chess kind of area where they want to think strategically without having a bunch of components to think about, this is definitely one of those games where you can bring it out. It's a challenge. It's a spatial orientation game. It's a game where you have to think ahead a couple moves, and yeah, a lot of fun. But Josh, you wanted to talk about these Edge Elite dice.
Oh yeah, I'm a dice collector. We go to conventions and I come back with at least one set of dice. The advent of nicer and metal dice have been, filling out my closet. I've got a set of dice. I've got a set of dice, and they can only be read with the black light. They're the DM dice.
I like that.
Would you like the devil you know or the devil you don't know? I have a flashlight. We can find out what you rolled.
So here's a question. What does that encourage? So when I played DM, I usually had a screen to roll behind. Mm-hmm. Do you think that makes it a more fair thing when you put your hand in front and use the flashlight as opposed to rolling behind the screen?
You roll that one in front.
Oh, okay. You just flat out there. You just flat out go, hey, you guys want to see what you got?
Yeah. I got a thing, or depending on you roll them both in front of people, and then it's that one's an 8. You need a 12. Do you think this is better? It could be.
Yeah. Oh goodness, that's fun. Okay. Yeah. Hey, sorry.
I like doing stuff like that. But yes, dice. I like dice. The Edge Elite stuff is from a rookie dice company, and all their dice looked really good. I liked the different options, casino style, or with the rounded corners. A bunch of them are laser engraved, so they're not gouged, so they're more balanced.
Right.
I believe the plus and minuses on some of the dice are fate dice, so you can use those for like the role playing game or the Dresden board game that came out. They unlocked a really cool looking dice case.
Yeah. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, they look really good, and I have not backed it, but I was tempted to pick up a couple. We'll see.
Yeah. Choose your edges. Choose your face types.
Faces, colors.
Wow. Man. Yeah, those look pretty sweet, and different sizes and colors as well, huh?
Yeah. The options were. I don't remember. Scrolling.
Looks like
14 to 18 millimeter.
Okay.
Basically, I think slightly smaller or a little bit larger than a penny.
Okay. Yeah. There's that. Boy, they just had a comparison shot. Now I'll try and find it to make sure we get it on video.
It's like 2/3
there we go.
On the website.
Yeah, there we go. Size options. Yeah, so. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Boy, oh boy. I love the dual colors.
Yeah.
The dual colors are really pretty. So, yeah, awesome. So.
Now I just gotta wait for Tainted Grail and Crusader Kings to get here.
I know. I got a preview of Crusader Kings at Gen Con, and boy, oh boy, I can't wait to play.
Nice.
It was really funny. So, Josh, what would you say is the most reputable part about, or let's see, what is the reputation, I guess, of Crusader Kings as far as the game goes?
Yeah, I believe I've heard it accurately referred to as a murder and incest simulator.
Okay.
Which is not me selling the game, but that's
Yeah. So,
what you can do.
but it is how they sold the game at Gen Con, which is and he was very excited about it.
Yeah. Oh, no. People who like Crusader Kings love Crusader Kings.
Yeah. No. He was very excited about the fact that if you, let's see, if you want to marry someone, you take their token, and their token has a trait token underneath, and you put it in a bag. Okay. Now, there's another bag of negative trait tokens due to incest. So if you do not want to make an alliance across the board by marriage, you need to marry a family member from your own family, put the token in the bag, and then you have to draw 2 tokens out of the incest bag and prop them in. So, when you have a child, you draw from your bag, and your child has those traits.
And
he
sounds like Crusader Kings.
He might be the bravest man alive and the most gallant knight or whatever, and he might be a hemophiliac who's like Mr. Glass if you touch him. So, yeah.
It's so much fun.
I know. It's interesting. And he was a lot more excited than a person should be about that subject. So,
yeah. That sounds like Crusader Kings people.
Yeah. So, lots to come hopefully on this channel. Hopefully we get stuff right, because that's what we're trying to do right now, is trying to get stuff right. And I can already tell you I'm not satisfied with lighting in my area right now. But it's stuff we'll work on. We do have a Patreon if anybody wants to support the show, but please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will have social media shortly. We do have a couple gameplay videos up. I recommend our Cosmic Encounters gameplay video. It's a little washed out, but the one we fixed the video in, we did not fix the audio in. So we will be working on that stuff, and hopefully we will mainly on this channel be playing board games, but we might stream shows like this from time to time to talk about what we're excited about and what we want to talk about. So, any final thoughts for the people, Josh?
Stay tuned for next time.
Yes, stay tuned for next time. And